Money Vikings, Money Viking G here. I got a very good one for you today, but it's not a positive one. It's a downbeat one because I want to talk about the sad state of the U.S. economy at this point for 90% of us in this country. The economy is essentially broken for 90% of people. Yes, the 10% are doing fine and the data is out. I brought the receipts today and I'll go through some of that information. But the fact of the matter is that the economy is absolutely broken for most people. So let's get into it. Let's get into some of the interesting tidbits of data here. You know, those of you who have watched the channel or read truewealth.moneyvikings.com, our blog for the last 7 years, know that we are not doom and gloom. Typically, it's all about what middle-class earners can do to build substantial wealth in America or anywhere, really. But the premise of our message and the information we're bringing together is that if you have a solid middle-class job, you can build wealth in this country. And for a long time, I used to believe that. And for a long time, I believed that was true, and I thought it was true in the past. I am coming to the realization, the harsh reality in the modern economy and at the moment, that that system is broken and that it has never been harder for a middle class existence in this country. And it's never been harder to build wealth. Maybe the Great Depression is probably a good one. But at the moment, it's just really out of reach for, as I said, 90% of people. Yes, 10% of people are doing fine. They call it a K-shaped situation in terms of spending and consuming and building wealth. And what that means is that there's 10% that continue to accumulate and are able to spend and are doing fine. And there's a 90% that their quality of life is going down because it is just too expensive and wages are not keeping up and have not kept up, in fact, for decades. And it's just the reality of things. I'm going to end the video with some positive notes and ideas because there are things we have to do. We probably need to reassess the American dream and what that means for those of us individually. We have to reanalyze that and think about what that is to each of us in our own unique way, because the old model is literally dead and is gone. Will it come back? I don't know. I think it's hard to see that right now with the way the world is changing. It's hard to see it with inflation. It's hard to see it with the devaluation of currencies. It's hard to see it with the rise of artificial intelligence, which is absolutely going to decimate many jobs, a lot of white-collar jobs. We can all go become plumbers and electricians, but we can't all be plumbers and electricians. Again, even wages and jobs are a factor of supply and demand. So when there's more people in the marketplace, the wages go down. So, it's going to be very interesting to see how things play out over the next decade in this country, or at least the next 5 years. One of the interesting tidbits of information is that Hamburger Helper in the news, Hamburger Helper sales are up considerably. What does that mean? Hamburger Helper is basically a carbohydrate pasta type dish that can be added to ground beef to basically make it a more caloric, meal, and it's very affordable. It's very cheap. And so the fact that people are adding that to their meals shows that they're struggling mightily with groceries. Grocery prices are going up. They've not gone down. So that is the reality. And again, this is all in the context of, I understand, that the billionaire class will tell us that everything's fine, and it is for them. You have a lot of people in power that are worth $100 million, worth $1 billion. They have $20 million. They're not going to feel the effects of really any of this like the rest of us. Another example of how the economy is headed into the shitter is that cardboard box sales are down. Why is that important? Well, in this Amazon economy, which also decimated a lot of middle-class mom-and-pop jobs, by the way, you have a lot of cardboard boxes that are being used to ship all the stuff that we're swiping and buying. Well, people are swiping less. So cardboard box factories are closing down, in fact. And in addition to that, people are buying more frozen pizzas. That's another one that, people are doing to save money. People are doing everything they can to save money right now. This is on top of the reality that utility bills are going up. property taxes are going up, and we're about to be hit with huge healthcare insurance costs. So again, the system is absolutely broken. I don't know who can make enough to raise a family in this system where everything costs so much more. You're getting gouged every left and right way you turn around. It's just the truth. Again, I'm usually pretty upbeat on this channel, but not with these statistics and not with this information. The reality is it's broken, and hopefully it'll change, but I don't know. So what are we supposed to do? You know, that's the question with all this. And I would say a couple of things. So, you know, you have to continue with the inflation defense systems that Jerry and I brought up several years ago, and those just have to be doubled down on. Those are things like buying in bulk. Those are cutting unneeded subscriptions. It's cutting your budget back to the bone as far as you can on the extra stuff for a while, just to get through this time. You know, so that means going to Costco, load up on Costco. I noticed the Costco gas line is much longer than it used to be. It's always been long, but I noticed it's like double the length. I'm a big fan of thrift stores, so that's another one that I would deploy. If you have to buy clothes, why not go to a thrift store? There's a lot of nice clothes. I drop stuff off at a thrift store at the Goodwill quite regularly, and I'll tell you, the drop-off section is huge. People are constantly rolling in there, dropping off things that are nice stuff, in fact. So you can get a deal. Now, thrift stores as well have increased their prices, so that's something to keep in mind. I noticed over the years that thrift store prices have crept quite a bit, and sometimes they actually sell things for a little much, and again, you're like, wow, you know, this is a thrift store. You know, the other thing I would say is that we're in a situation, again, where things like gold and Bitcoin, I think, will continue to hold their value. So those probably do need to be part of a strategically diversified portfolio. I get a little worried about Bitcoin. I get a little worried about both of them, but, you know, I like Bitcoin, as you know. This has kind of become a Bitcoin channel in a lot of ways over the last year. But, you know, Bitcoin has its risks as well. But I do think it's going to continue to be part of my portfolio. I'm probably going to continue to try to be in that 10 to 15% range of total assets for Bitcoin. And the other thing, I guess the final thing I'll say is that it probably is time for all of us to rethink the American dream. You know, it used to be that the American dream was, you know, 2.6 kids, you know, the house paid off in the suburbs, the 2 vacations a year, the brand new car every 3 years. I think that probably was the American dream at one time, maybe in the 60s and 70s. But that is just out of reach for most people. So, you know, maybe there's nothing wrong with living in an apartment. A lot of countries, you know, in Germany and a lot of European countries, people live in much smaller spaces. In Japan, people live in much smaller spaces. It costs less. And actually, you end up filling it up with less junk. You have less maintenance. You have less utility costs. So there can be a lot of downrange effects of that are very helpful to a budget. So maybe that's one thing to think about, is downsizing. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a smaller family. People seem to think that you have to have so many kids, but I don't know, maybe one child is the new normal, and maybe that's the American dream for a lot of people. I'm not sure, but it, excuse me, it's something to, something to consider for sure. But anyway, this is some shocking information, and I just think that it's time to reassess the American dream for many of us. Leave your comments. What is the most, you know, outrageous thing in terms of prices right now that you're experiencing? What are you doing to combat that? Are you picking up extra work if you can? You know, even the labor market is kind of odd. I think a lot more people are unemployed than the actual statistics, if we even get statistics anymore, are telling us. I think those of us in the real economy know that it's a struggle for most people. So, you know, check out truewealth.moneyvikings.com. Check out our YouTube channel if you don't mind. Please like and subscribe and all that, because I do believe, you know, Jerry and I have collected 7 years now of wealth building tips and secrets, And, you know, maybe it's time to peruse them. There's a lot of ideas in there for people that I think could help them. Again, this is a channel that it's not a channel built for millionaires and billionaires. They've already made it. This is for middle class people to be able to have an ability to conquer their financial freedom and live a life of true wealth. So with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.